Hello, welcome back to the Vintage Model Company YouTube channel. I'm James and I'm joined today by Andrew Darby, who designed the magnificent flying machines. We're just going to talk to Andrew about different subjects to do with his design process and the planes and how they came to be in our company range here, the magnificent flying machine range. It's a bit of a different video to usual, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's a bit more of a long form one, so sit back and enjoy it. Right, so Andrew, how did you get involved with VMC and get started designing these planes?
I'd spent some time as a kid building models like this, and then as things do, life moves on, go away to university, kids and all the other things, and then got back into it when I had kids. You couldn't go out so much in the evenings, wanted something to do, and decided to start picking these things up. And through this met a guy called Mike Stewart, who has a really good website for modelers. And I think initially he contacted Mike to see whether they'd be interested in building a sample Keelcraft Spitfire for a show they were doing, the Pistons and Props show. And Mike said, not necessarily at this point in time, but I know a man that really likes the old Keelcraft stuff, and put them on to me.
Right.
And Paddy contacted me and I said, yeah, why not? Built them a model in a couple of weeks from the old Keelcraft plans or whatever, and some laser cut parts, and finished it on the evening before the show. And myself and my son went to the show and sort of handed it over.
Nice.
So that's the initial contact, if you like. So, and then Paddy said, well, we've got all these models, and we need samples built, or we need them looking at, because the old designs are great. However, everything was hand built, and it doesn't necessarily suit the laser cutting process.
Yeah, because those old drawings were all hand drawn, weren't
all
they?
hand drawn,
and they sort of were transferred to the computer and traced out, and then cut out, and it's not perfect.
The second part of that process might not have been so bad, but originally the lines were as accurate as the man drew with something like Albert Hatfull or Phil Smith drew with a pencil.
Yeah.
And so when you were cutting those things out with a razor blade, which is what it used to tell you on the old kit plans, then that accuracy was sort of forgivable, but with laser cutting, people expected a better result.
Yeah.
So Paddy said to me, is it a possibility you could go through them? And I said, well, to be honest, Paddy, it'd probably be better to start from scratch and design them to suit the process in a modern way, and building things that are necessary to make them fly properly, like a removable nose block and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So you're not working around the old designs.
Difficulties.
Yeah.
So all of the MFM kits were designed from scratch, from 3 views and photographs and information.
Yeah.
So that's really the starting point for the design.
Yeah, great. And so which design which model did you start with when you first came to do them?
The Cessna 140 was the first one we did. Perceivably not the most popular of all the models, but I felt it wise to start with something that was relatively simple, so we could explore.
Yeah, quite square and
exactly.
Yeah.
The sort of simple model that is, it made so we could explore the process and how to take advantage of it, and how we could make these easier to build, because although these kits were designed for kids to build, they weren't necessarily the easiest thing in the world to build. So it was making them accessible, and making them fly.
Right, yeah, of course.
Because that's
quite a crucial part of it.
Quite a crucial part of it. That they should build well. They should look close to the real thing as you can with a little rubber powered model, but also they should stand a fighting chance of getting them to fly. If it's built reasonably straight, they will fly. Yeah,
absolutely. And I suppose the Cessna 140 being a high wing aircraft,
nice and stable. Yeah, it's a good beginner's. It's the ideal beginner's one. I've said that design, that if you do build it straight, it will fly. Okay.
Yes.
It's got no nasty tendencies.
No.
it was at the end of the day, it reflects the real aircraft.
Which it was a trainer. So
it's
all that. Well, it's sort of very popular.
It was sort of the car of the skies in the late 1940s, 50s. People wanted to take on flying as a hobby and whatever. So it was nice and stable, easy to fly. Whether something like a Spitfire was meant to be fast and stable.
Absolutely.
That's how you got away from a Messerschmitt.
So again, that's why starting with a high wing aircraft, much better than.
Certainly from a building point of view, and also it allowed me to hone the concepts of the designs before we tackled something like the Spitfire, just to get some of the techniques under our belt, really. So it offered a lot of good reasons to start with that, and essentially over the months following that, we didn't sort of launch that straight away. We built up a cache of models, including the Spitfire and the Hurricane. And before we launched, I think we launched with about 5 or 6 at the time, and then gradually built them up from there. So, what? Oh, I had a question in my head then, but I forgot what it was. That was it. So when you're designing these aircraft, what sort of software do you use, and how do you go about? Do you design in 2 dimensions or do you design in 3 dimensions? Yeah, I mean, if the relatively simple shape, it's easy enough just to design straight away and I design in 2D software. I do use 3D software for work. But I just use a simple 2D CAD package, and it is a CAD package rather than a graphics package, as in it's sort of mathematically driven. So it's coordinates, sort of thing. And so I start generally by finding the correct outline, and then I start in 2D with what's called a 3 view of the aircraft. And then I start from there, and then because some of these things, particularly like the Spitfire, there are compound curves and things like that going on in here. Then I will often begin with some shapes, and literally, because I'm a model maker, I will build that. Rather than spending time in the 3D CAD modelling it, which I could do. I'll build it and see how it looks, because it's the way it looks to the eye, which is hard to tell sometimes on the 3D CAD.
Of course,
And where, for instance, that worked too well, didn't it?
I wasn't too. There's no elastic in this one, so.
So it's where to place, because obviously for instance, the Spitfire, this was a metal airplane with a stressed skin. You wouldn't see any stringers, so it's where to place those stringers to make it look as solid as it can when it's got its tissue skin. Obviously, with the World War I aircraft, they had a fabric skin, and so
therefore
right.
It looks right.
So there's a compromise between the number of stringers, where they're placed, and the look of what you end up with as far as the structure's concerned. So that's quite hard to tell on the screen, but you can eyeball this. So, for instance, I build very simple. I would hand cut forms that I plotted out on the CAD, and then look to make sure that the flow of the stringers was correct, etc. And the same with the wings. You've got these ribs, just placing them in the right place to make it structurally sound. Not too many of them to keep it light, but keeping it strong and stable, and all the other things you've got to do to make sure that it's a robust model.
Yes, can take a few hits. So did you take any, what's the right way of phrasing this, like design, did you make any changes to the design to make it fly better as a free flight model? Like I noticed that the tail I think it's slightly bigger, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's, at the end of the day, you haven't got a pilot in these things. As we said earlier, the Spitfire, the Hurricane, whatever, the ME-109 were all designed to be unstable, because that's how you outturned or outmaneuvered somebody. So yes, the tailplane and fin were enlarged, and you have to again take a view on, because you're effectively changing that overall shape to make it maintain the character of the shape whilst making it a little bit bigger. So you have to do that. It's about, for instance, the Spitfire is probably about 30% larger in area.
And you can't really tell from, I mean, when you first glance at it, there's nothing that sort of it's not like a sore thumb that just sticks out. It definitely looks like it's
keeping
captured
it
the character.
looking like in the correct character.
Yeah, but it's all about making those changes in the interest of flight
making
performance.
it fly. Yeah, sure.
Rather than if it was a scale model. Well, obviously it can be a scale model, but as a if it was a plastic model, then that doesn't need to fly.
Exactly.
You wouldn't need to do any differences.
And to a certain extent, if people put them as remote control models, then you could probably get away with a slightly smaller tail surface because you've got a pilot at the helm that overcomes those instabilities. But as a free flight model, it's got to look, once you let it go out of your hand, it's got to look after itself. That stability is important. It's obviously that compromises less for models like the Cessna 140, where they were sort of more inherently stable to start.
Yes, yeah.
They're sort of built in to start with.
And I suppose within enlarging things like the tail, that's similar to how some radio control models, they have larger control surfaces.
Yes, that's right.
Even on quite large scale aircraft, with 40 or 50 inch wingspans, sometimes you get quite considerably larger like ailerons or elevators and things.
Yeah, it's all to do with the scaling of things. The air's the same air.
Yes,
the aircraft at full size, but the scale speed is
a lot less.
It's different. It's
different.
It's the other way.
Oh right,
Being scientific about it's called Reynolds number, and that is a different sort of kettle of fish. I don't know roughly what scale that even is, but a 50th of scale. But the air is has its properties as they are, not a 50th of the scale.
Of course, yeah. So going back in time, what did you like? Well, sorry to put it like that. What did you study at university, and and what do you do as a full-time job?
Well, the interesting thing is that when I was a lad building these Keelcraft models and struggling to get them fly, but I did eventually. It piqued my interest in understanding why they did or didn't fly. I've always been quite practical, liked sort of, building bikes and things when I was a kid, and that drew me towards engineering. Yeah. And therefore, with this hobby, I did an aerospace engineering university degree down at Hatfield. So, yeah, that's the reasonable experience to be designing model aeroplanes.
We have a professional.
And as a day job, then I went on to a company that designed and manufactured educational equipment, including things like wind tunnels and that sort of thing.
Interesting,
Low speed ones up to supersonic wind tunnels.
Wow, okay. So. Interesting. Are there any projects you're working on at the moment?
Not at the moment. I've taken a bit of a break from it. It's quite an intense period when we were designing a lot of the models.
Yeah, there's a lot of models as well. It's like 16 or something, isn't there?
But I do plan in the autumn to pick up some new ones. There's been some shouts from fellow modelers and the guys here for me to do some. So perhaps a little bit of a hint, perhaps something World War I and German. Yeah,
because we've only got British aircraft, I think, at the moment, and we've got the Camel, the triplane, and the SE5.
So it'd be nice to have
German model in there.
So possibly the flying razor blade, as it was called, the Fokker D8
is that the one with the monoplane? Is it? Yeah. The high wing.
Parasol type thing. That has an interesting backstory as well with the way it was designed, and unfortunately the early ones, the wings fell off and things like that. So it was quite an advanced aircraft for its time, but once they'd sorted that out, it was a very good aircraft, and there was a considerable margin of safety in the wings as well. But it makes it an interesting backstory, and I don't think there are any examples of real ones after the war. They were destroyed. These German aircraft were destroyed as part of the disarmament process.
Yes,
so which is a bit sad from a historical point.
Yeah, of course. But it'd be nice to have a model, and I'm sure if you build it right when that comes out, if we do make the kit, I'm sure your wings won't fall off. So
no, it won't fall off.
Unless you're trying to make it extra authentic. Cool. Oh, and finally, would you have any advice for people building these models, your models, or are there any sort of little tips and tricks that you've picked up?
There's no one right way of doing something. You pick a way which is right for you, because we all have different skills in different areas, if you like, and different ways of thinking about it. So that's one thing. So it's a good idea when you're trying to find out how to do something. There's so much on the internet now that you can find.
Yeah.
But taking various opinions and then
Coming up with
if
your
you've
own.
got a problem, don't just go with the first solution you find on the internet. Just do a little bit of research on there.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a few tips and hints on the VMC YouTube channel to follow. I noticed that there's a few videos on there covering and things like that.
Yeah.
Again, they're slightly different to techniques I use.
Yeah. So.
But they're equally as valid, and you have to have
It's finding what's the best.
Of what
way
tools
to
you've
do-
got
Yeah.
and what you want to
Exactly.
achieve. So that's a big one, really, which isn't a specific piece of advice, but there's so much. When I was a kid, there was nothing. There was no internet. I'm that old, so you were sort of stuck with trying to figure things out for yourself. The overarching thing again is take your time when you're building them. Read the instructions. Do it step by step. If you're puzzled by it, put it back and come back to it. And I still do that now when I'm building them. Take your time, think through the order that you build the things in. Make sure that you make joints nice and tight, things like that. I would say if there's too many, really.
No. It's all right. This video's already quite long, so it's fine.
I think the big thing, like I say, is look at those videos that you've done, really, because they give some real good guidance on the ideas. Use a sanding block when you're sanding things, rather than if you're doing curves, then it's okay to have paper in your hand. But if you want to keep something nice and flat, use a sanding block and you dig in. Some of the tips and hints put in the booklet. Like, for instance, if it's the first time you've bent some wire with the pliers, then don't use the wire out of the kit as your first attempt. Just find a few paper clips and have a practice. You can also, from scrap pieces around the edges of the sheets in the kit, have a go at sanding the balsa wood. We grade the balsa in the kit, so light parts that have to necessarily be lighter are much lighter balsa. Parts that have to be more robust, like the parts in the nose block or the front or the undercarriage, made from dents and stuff. And there were a big difference in how that sands. So get a feel for how it sands, because with the light stuff, you take it
it's
all
gone.
off in one go, it's gone.
It's dust.
It's got a pile of dust. And on the dense stuff, you've got to give it a little bit more strength and it takes a bit longer. So it's things like that. Still just getting experience, but try and use, and that's part of taking the time to sort of understand the process. Because once you've done one or two, then the process comes a lot easier. And you will, as I did, get sort of addicted to sort of building them. It's a lovely hobby from the point of the fact that it gives you a lot of pleasure in hours. A very little sort of outlay and cost. A lot of the guys build these sat on with a board on their laps in front of the TV or on the dining room table. It's that sort of hobby that it's nice to be able to pick up and put down, a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, if you like. It's that sort of nice sort of hobby, and then you get the pleasure of the thing actually doing what it's meant to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think that's just about it. So thanks very much for coming.
No problem.
And if you enjoyed this episode, let us know if you want more of these sort of things. Comment down below. Like the video, and we'll put some links to some of the subjects we've been talking about in the description bar, so you can check out building guides, covering guides, stuff like that. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.